Welcome back to my weekly Love and Gratitude series. As usual, I'm recording in English what I did in French. Today we will explore another profound truth. Your mental space can often feel like a battleground between the ego based mind and your higher self. When the ego dominates, it is through our thoughts that are rooted in fear, doubt, and conditional beliefs. Beliefs tied to external circumstances and false assumptions. They are false because they are related to something specific. And if they were associated to something different, a different point of view, a different feeling, they would be different. So that makes them conditional and false because they are ego based. On the other hand, your higher self speaks through your passions and the joyful, heartfelt feelings that guide you towards your true purpose, your full potential. The ego is often weaving a web of conditional and false beliefs that keep us chained to fear and limitation, keeping us in an ego comfort zone. And the more we are awakened to a higher self, the more we expand that comfort zone and the less the ego can control it through our thoughts and beliefs. Conditional beliefs sounds like I can only be happy if I achieve this, or I will be enough when others approve of me. These thoughts, they're not truths, they're mental concepts that veil your natural flow of joy and authenticity. Neville Goddard wrote in The Power of Awareness, man moves in a world that is nothing more or less than his consciousness objectified, so exteriorized. This means the world you experience reflects the belief you hold within. If your mental space is dominated by the ego based thoughts, your reality will mirror that. It will reflect your fears and your conditions. The ego based mind creates a constant stream of thoughts that reinforce separation. Remember, the ego thinks of itself almighty, so it doesn't want another power. So that separation is felt and seen through thoughts like, I'm not enough. I must compete to survive. I will never succeed. This is impossible. These thoughts form a mental prison, keeping you from hearing the subtle, loving voice of your higher self. Remember, I mentioned last week that the more you have conversations with your higher self, the more you will recognize and hear that voice in the mental space chaos. Unlike the ego, the higher self doesn't speak in fear or doubt. But be careful because the ego can disguise itself as positivity as well. And one way to know if it's the ego is to see that this positivity is conditionally based. The higher self voice emerges in moments of inspiration, passion, heartfelt joy. There's a knowingness coming with it. This is the voice that calls you toward your highest potential, telling you through your energy and whispers, follow what lights you up. Joseph Campbell beautifully said in The Power of the Myth, follow your bliss, and the universe will open doors for you where there were only walls. The more you lift up your ego veils, the more you see those doors and they open by themselves. You do not need to push them open with any force. Things become effortless. And not because you don't work at it, but because you don't need to put any ego effort. You are following something that passionates you and bring you joy. When you feel genuine joy, excitement, or peace, that is your higher self guiding you. It doesn't impose any condition. It simply invites you to align with what feels true and fulfilling and solely satisfying. Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now offers clarity on this distinction. The primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but your thoughts about it. The ego makes you believe that external conditions decide of your happiness. But the higher self reminds you that joy is an inner state, always there, always ready and accessible. To recognize the voice of your higher self, ask yourself, does this thought bring me peace, or does it create tension and more questions? Am I acting out of joy and love, or fear and obligation? I remember when my now adult kids were young children and they felt hurt by others in some situation. I was telling them that those people they were hurt, so they reacted. And also when they themselves were saying something hurtful, I was telling them, this is not coming from your heart, it's coming from your head. I did not use the vocabulary like ego based or higher self, but they knew the difference. We all know what our divine nature feels like. Even if the ego based mind is the most active thought system, we all know that when we speak from our heart, we are closer to our true self and our Christ consciousness state of being. In the coming weeks, I will talk about Christ consciousness, but I'm not going to expand on that today. The teaching of Christ consciousness does not belong to only Christian religions. In fact, many Christians don't even know what it is. They believe in some external power that will come and save them. In the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus said, if you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will destroy you. Because you either bring forth what is coming from your higher self or what is coming from your ego based mind. So you either will see oneness or separation. In the Bhagavad Gita, we can read, the yogi whose mind is calm, whose passions are subdued, and who is free from all sin, experiences the supreme bliss of oneness with the divine. When you trust your higher self, your divine connection, you release the conditions that the ego imposes. So joy becomes your natural state, and life flows with greater ease. You become creative instead of reactive. You become aligned with your inspiration so you can see things from a different standpoint. Lao Tzu's wisdom in the Tao Te Ching offer guidance on how to navigate life through the higher self. We can read, when you let go of what you are, you become what you might be. Letting go of the ego's grip, of its conditional, so false beliefs, allows us to align with our true nature. The higher self doesn't need to control or force anything. Never. It leads with gentle, joyful guidance. It brings us to synchronicities. You know those wonderful things that seems to come out of the blue? That's your higher self showing you signs that you are on the right path. A little parenthesis here about the signs that we all wish for and sometimes we pray for. This might answer some questions about that. We see signs when we are on the right path. This is like you driving on a dusty road away from the highway where you want to go. But you keep asking for signs that you are on the right road. You will never see them because they are on the other road. I will give you 4 little practices to step away from your ego based mind to be more self aware. So, the mindful awareness practice. So, you begin by noticing your thoughts. Are they driven by fear or love? Journaling can help you uncover and release ego based patterns because when you write them down, you can learn to become the observer. There's a gratitude practice. So, gratitude shifts your focus from what is lacking to what is already abundant. This simple practice aligns you with the higher self's joyful perspective. Remember, you cannot be grateful and negative at the same time. They are opposite emotions and opposite energies. The third one is to follow your joy practice. Each day, ask yourself when you feel following some low and negative energy, what could bring me the most joy right now or more joy? Even small actions guided by passion increase your connection to your higher self. Although sometimes in a negative state of mind, you can ask this question differently, like, what is less depressing or less sad that I can do? And then there's the compassionate inner dialogue practice. When the ego based mind seems to be in control or speaks too loud, acknowledge it without judgment and say, thank you, ego. I'll take it from here. Thank you for your concern, but I choose to follow love instead of fear. I'll talk to you in a few days. I encourage you to put these practices into action today and use your own words, make them your own. Listen this video again, press pause, write them down, and leave the paper in plain sight so you have easy access to it. Eventually, it will become automatic as soon as you feel your ego stepping in. You'll know. The ego will always try to control your mental space through thoughts, fear, limitation. But you are not your ego. You are not your ego identity. Listen to last week's video when I spoke about the ego and the higher self. You are consciousness beyond your ego. When your higher self speaks through passion, joy, and heartfelt inspiration, listen closely. That's the voice of your truest self, calling you to live with love, freedom of the mind, and gratitude. Let us end today with the words of Neville Goddard from The Feeling is the Secret. He said, assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled and observe the route that your attention follows. Sometimes we don't know where our intention is, and it is important to become aware of it because it is the source of what we think, what we believe, we create, we see. So when you cannot find your deepest intention, look at where your attention is. Your unspoken and vibrational intention is underneath. Trust in the higher self, and it will guide you to the life you are meant to live, which will probably be different than the life your ego wants to live. Thank you for joining me in this week's reflection. I invite you to carry this exploration into your week. Thank you for connecting with me again, and I hope you enjoyed my weekly love and gratitude series. May you walk this week with the desire to become more aware of your ego in action and your thoughts and your decision making in the words you might want to say to only please your ego. Speak from your heart and not from your head, like I was telling my kids. And remember to breathe in, to let go of all your ego based thoughts and vision, to see from your soul, and to love out. See you next week.
If you feel inspired by today's reflection, I invite you to support this series by donating through the links in the description. Your kindness helps keep this journey alive. Your donation helps me continue creating and sharing these reflections from the heart. Every contribution, no matter the size, is deeply appreciated.